Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Mike Fu, and today I want to talk about ghrelin. Um, it's a life-changing thing for me, and I just want to share these things with you because, in terms of my health, in terms of my eating habits, it's been a breakthrough, and I really do think some of the stuff I am sharing today may help people make better decisions for themselves. So let's get started. Okay. So, very first thing, I want to frame all of this as the main reason is, or the main mechanism here is to treat yourself kindly. And I say that because in society with social constructs of, you know, uh, willpower and accountability, if you're someone who struggles with eating habits and, has health issues and maybe you need to, lose weight, there's a lot of shaming and blaming here that really spirals our situations out of control. I've lost and gained weight like 50, 60 pounds at a time, weight multiple times in my life. So I had a very poor relationship with food. I'm very dependent on food for comfort, for relief from stress, and I'm a foodie, so you know, um, pluses and minuses with food, let's just say. And I started intermittent fasting, let's say, more than 5 years ago. And through it, I learned so many different things at different times of my fasting over the past 5 years that I think I have a good understanding of myself, and in a way where it really empowered me to take control of my eating habits and just taking care of myself better. So the very first thing is, being a victim versus playing a victim, understanding that we are in a society of, addictive vices such as your phone or pain pills or, food, sugar industry, weed industry. The system, you know, it works against us. It really plays to our addictions, and it works against us biochemically. And that's where I do think we as a country, the public, are sort of victims, right, of an addiction driven, profit driven industry. Now, with that said, that does not mean you're not accountable for your actions and inactions. There's a difference between being a victim and playing a victim, and you won't get success for taking care of yourself by playing a victim. But understanding how people are victims would allow us to navigate and make better choices. So I want to remove the shame and blame so that we can just be objective about how we view ourselves and what choices we. The other thing is, everything I'm sharing is information. I'm not advising people to go intermittent fast. I'm not advising people to listen and do what I do. I'm just sharing information, things that I just learned that I think are just valuable to know, whether or not you even have an eating problem or not. Um, there are people who have ways that work for them. It's not for everybody. You don't need to intermittent fast if you don't want to and you don't care to. I just hope you might watch this video just because the stuff I'm sharing is just really, really interesting. I have OCD, and I one of my OCD things is I really like to know how things work, and I can't, like, I kind of go down deep rabbit holes every time I learn something new, and it's just like, oh, I have to learn. I have to know how this works. So I'm going to share some of the stuff I learned. So, what is ghrelin? It's the hunger hormone. It's the hormone that reminds you that you need to eat. And without that, through evolution, you would have died if you didn't eat, right? So hormones get you to go eat. And the thing is, and there's two sort of ways I approach it. There's the timing of the release of ghrelin, the ghrelin hormone in your body, and then there's also an associated conditioning release, right? Like Pavlovian, like, how you condition a dog. If you do certain things, ghrelin could release because of that association. So let's talk about the timing thing first. So think about a time in the day. Like, a lot of people think when they're hungry, they associate with, your stomach grumbling or whatever. But when you actually are feeling hungry, you don't really need to eat. You can literally go on for days without eating, like a month without eating, survive. Your body knows how to, use its fat stores, and you can get into ketosis, and you're able to survive. Like, so hunger, um, it's it, it's a nebulous sort of abstract idea that I kind of want to really dig deep down into right now. Um, and when ghrelin releases, it changes your psychology. So the best way I could describe it is with a, um, maybe a personal anecdote, and you can think about your own anecdote. But in the morning, if you eat in the morning, actually, if you eat at, like, let's say 12:30 every day, then around 12:30 you start feeling hungry, but that's because you've been eating at that time consistently every day, so you've trained your body to release ghrelin at that time. And that's how hunger urges occur. A lot of people don't eat in the morning or aren't hungry in the morning because in the morning, what are we likely to do? Well, we have our morning routine, so we brush our teeth, shower, and so for the first 20 to 30 minutes in the morning, you likely aren't hungry because you never eat then. You have your morning routine. Then for a lot of people, because they're in a rush to beat traffic, or they're taking care of kids, they don't eat. So again, they skip breakfast, but they're not hungry. They don't have the urge to eat. If you ate every morning and you had very, very little time one of the mornings, you would actually, and the idea of being hangry is interesting because the reason why you're hangry isn't because you need to eat, it's because ghrelin released and you have the urge to eat. But because your urge isn't satiated, you're annoyed by that, right? Um, so if you do eat at a certain time, it's because, I mean, if you're hungry at certain times, it's because you trained yourself to be hungry at that time. Um, the other thing is, if you were to, let's say, put your favorite guilty pleasure food, like have it available right in the morning, right when you woke up, or think about times in the day where you actually just ignore food because you're too busy, right? Oh, like you might say, oh, it's because I have work to do and I don't have time to eat. And therefore, if I put a cheesecake in front of you, or whatever your guilty pleasure is, you can just resist that because you're too busy. No, it's like part of the reason why you're able to resist it is because you work during that time and you don't eat that time, so you don't have ghrelin releasing at that time. If you have ghrelin releasing at the time when you're super busy doing work, you're still gonna want to go eat, and you're gonna end up going to your kitchen or wherever for a snack. Um, it's a psychological thing, and here's the thing about willpower. I don't think our perception of it is correct as it pertains to ghrelin and hunger. So I've had a really poor relationship with food in the past, and I used to come home from work driving in a route where there was a McDonald's drive-through, and I would eat almost every day during that time, so ghrelin would release. And at that point, I had a lot of psychological sort of insecurities and low self-esteem, and the ghrelin would be spiky and be like, and consciously be like, no, don't turn right, don't go into the drive-through. But my brain would be, you deserve it. Oh, it's only for one day. Oh, tomorrow you'll not get it just for today. I would do that for multiple days a month, every day saying, oh, tomorrow I'll start, tomorrow I'll start, tomorrow. And it's like, the funny thing is, after I ate the cheeseburgers, the dollar menu stuff, I would feel like crap about myself. I would feel terrible. I'd be like the shame and blame inside. Like, we all can feel internalized as shame and blame, either internally and through external factors. And, it's like be embarrassing to, you laugh about it with like friends or coworkers, but truthfully, like I was miserable inside. I had like, just felt pathetic that I couldn't not eat. And then worse off, when I was done, you just feel terrible about yourself. And that's when I would say the shame and blame has to be removed. Because when I started intermittent fasting, I was getting confused as to why I was able to resist things. Because at some point, I had actually been able to go down to my kitchen, and I had the habit of going down to my kitchen for a snack. But because my micro gut biome was also starting to improve because I was just eating a more balanced diet because I closed my eating window for myself. My cravings had changed because of that brain gut connection. Plus, my caloric intake was much more healthy. I ended up going downstairs to my kitchen and I'd have snacks like there were snacks like cookies and all this stuff. And I just looked at it. I'm like, I was getting frustrated and annoyed because I didn't want any of it. But I was so used to going downstairs, I'd just be confused. And I was like, oh, my behavior and my urges have changed. And that was so powerful to understand. Um, I I just realized that, all the shaming and blaming I've been doing all this time and questioning, like, saying I have no willpower. Well, guess what? Willpower is just this abstract thing when it comes to biochemistry. When your ghrelin is released and you put in front of yourself, your favorite, like sort of comfort food, my analogy is always your willpower is basically the public defendant and ghrelin is a fleet of corporate multi-million dollar lawyers. You're going to lose that battle. And it has nothing to do with willpower. And the idea of willpower in this case is really just the absence of ghrelin, right? To be able to make choices absent of biochemical urges. Okay. And I started realizing one of the factors that I had control over, which was, hey, don't go shopping for food when your ghrelin spikes, because that's when I'm gonna go get like the 2 boxes of fried chicken and whatever. If I go shopping when ghrelin is not spiking, I'm more likely to just treat my future self more kindly and I'm able to make better choices like for that future version of myself that can't make the choice. Right? There's two versions of myself. So um once I understood that, it didn't mean things were perfect. It just meant that I removed that shame and blame and I felt like I had some semblance of control and I was able to not focus so much on numbers with my weight, not focus just on calories. I was focusing on behavior. And so a lot of people who focus on numbers, a bunch of them have success because as they reduce their calories, as they exercise more, along the way for some people, they modified their behavior along the way so that they ate healthier and all this stuff. They got better habits. But the recommendation that they would give people was, oh, just do this type of diet because you're reducing that number. Just keep track of that number. Or as long as your weight goes down, right? Like we get fixated on the number and not focus on the core mechanisms that actually help us sustain future weight loss or sustain just a healthy lifestyle. And so modifying and focusing on behavior, I think, is one of the key things to anything in life instead of just the number. Now the numbers are helpful because they help motivate us. We all like to see progress, and it is something that I did always account for. I had numbers, but I always made sure after that that there was a real behavior and sort of good habit formed from it. Because let's say you go on a diet for a certain amount of times because you reduce your carbs by a certain amount of times, but you didn't modify the behavior or it wasn't modified along the way without you realizing it. And hence, when you stop that quote unquote diet, well, your behavior is still the same. So guess what? Your numbers will just either go back up or back down depending if it's good or bad, right? Like whether its weight goes up or your caloric intake goes back up, because your your behavior is what dictates a lifestyle, and your urges are sort of what we're trying to counterbalance, but not again, not through this nebulous idea of willpower, but by understanding the biochemistry and setting yourself up for success. And this was very, very gradual for me over the past 5 plus years. And as I've learned, I've had different phases. So it's a lot of work to take care of yourself in a very positive way. And one of the, again, social construct, we're all boxed in with, things that affect our self-esteem. And I just want to share that with you. It was really powerful to understand that, you know, yes, I'm accountable if I end up eating that cupcake, but at least now I can actually self-reflect and have very feel like I have control because I have an understanding about my biochemistry, and it's been just, life changing for me. I might go into making a video about, the different phases of my 5 year sort of journey with intermittent fasting. And now it's not intermittent fasting to me, it's just kind of my lifestyle. And oh, I forgot to mention this, but if, again, intermittent fasting, I'm not advising it to people, but if anybody does intermittent fast in one way or other, one of the pieces of advice that's pretty sound information is also that when you don't eat, you do need electrolytes. You need to have minerals to basically have like osmosis in your body system run properly. It's very, delicate balance in your body to make sure you have sodium and potassium, magnesium, all those different minerals. So I personally do take minerals, and otherwise, like, you're gonna feel fatigue because you don't have the proper electrolyte balance. But other than that, I do drink black coffee. Caffeine is a hunger suppressant as well. But at this point, I don't drink black coffee because, like, I need it to suppress hunger. I drink it just because um, it kind of gives me something to look forward to because I like the taste of coffee. It's not for everybody again, but just little things I just want to share. Oh, and one last thing. I forgot to mention about the conditioned way of releasing ghrelin. So, one of the habits that are hard to break is, or kind of everybody's approach will be different. Like, let's say I watch a Netflix movie. I have everybody has that habit of getting some popcorn or chips or a snack with it. And hence, you not only can train your body to release ghrelin by timing, you can train your body to release by conditioning, right? And associations. So, again, if you do certain things, I don't have, like, there's so many different ideas you can do to implement to be creative. But, if you're going to watch a movie, maybe watch a movie during a time when, you're more likely to have a snack and not overeat it, because watching movies late at night is the problem for a lot of people, because what that does is, if you start watching movies here and there, you start picking up the habit of eating at that time at late at night, and then all of a sudden that association ends up with you wanting food during that time when you're not watching a movie, right? Everybody's different. So just want to share that thing. I forgot to sort of go back to that. So thanks for listening. If you have your own experiences, observations, feedback, I'm always trying to learn these things, and I'm sure there's people that might be listening that really might know more than me about this stuff. So if you have anything to share, please do so. And that's it. Take care. Peace.